Oh, Mr. Bone is calling it the Ferocious Five. All right, I'll dance. This is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, offense.
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Tarosian, and this is RamView, the June 19th, 2024 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. And an uninjured in an auto accident, need help, got questions, call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Granite Ridge Christian Camp, a place where your life can change. Usually I do not look at the questions or anything in the box before the middle of the show, but I'm getting ready to go on, and Willie Bowen's already there, and he's talking Turner, Verse, Jones, Fisk, and Brown, the LA Rams Ferocious Five. Okay, I'll dance with that. I'll dance with Ferocious Five. I'm Joe Tarosian. Of course, I was gone on Monday. I had some short episodes on Wednesday and Friday, just busy. Back in town, celebrating my 33rd anniversary this weekend. So I was on the road on Monday, getting back, and happy to be here. Not much has changed. Not a whole lot has gone on. Stuff's happened outside of football. And I was going to save it for around the NBL, around the NFL and other places. But yeah, everyone seems to have an opinion and a thought and a memory of Willie Mays. You know, Willie Mays passing. And it's tragic, right? Because these guys were kind of like, when I was growing up, they were the early retired guys. And now they're all kind of going. And then, of course, you know, the whole Willie, Mickey, and the Duke, and all three of those guys are gone now. And you just think about that. Now, for me, I have to say, Willie Mays was legendary, legendary, iconic, and everything. But you know what? I never really saw him play. Never saw him play with the Giants. And I did see, my first World Series was the 73 A's Mets, and the Mets really pushed the A's to the limit there. And that's kind of where I became kind of a Mets fan, always, after the Dodgers, until, the Dodgers struck the deal with the devil and took Time Warner money. That's when I went to the Mets completely. But I saw that World Series, nothing really about Willie Mays. And I know that was a struggle for him in that World Series in 73. I don't remember it. Right. In fact, my memory of Willie Mays wasn't really Willie Mays at all. Was I saw a late season game where the Dodgers were playing up in Candlestick, and I noticed it was artificial turf, and Willie Davis came to the plate for the Dodgers. And I heard the name Willie Davis, and I got all excited because I was confusing Willie Davis with Willie Mays. Now, I was kind of a Willie Davis fan when you look back over his career. And you see what he did for the Dodgers for so many seasons. But I didn't really see Willie Mays play. And then, of course, it was pointed out to me that Willie Davis ain't Willie Mays. Willie Davis had a really good career, but he sure wasn't Willie Mays. And so he was always more legendary to me. And I have some friends that are just a little bit older, and they did see him play in his heyday with the Giants. And, of course, Scully, Scully says it. Vin Scully's the fourth person in the Trinity. If he says Willie Mays was the best player he ever saw, then Willie Mays is the best player that existed from 51 through 73, or was it 54 through 73? Whatever it was. He was on that 54 team, obviously, that won the World Series. But and think what his numbers, 660 home runs, what they would have been if he hadn't played in Candlestick, right? And so anyway, it was tragic hearing about the passing of Willie Mays. Excuse me. Excuse me. I got to take that allergy stuff. Dust again. All right, guys, I see we're loading up on some questions here, and I promise, guys, I'll get to them. But again, just looking for some Ram material and Ram content. And there was stuff I saw, I think it was someplace else, but I know Rams Wire posted some about all-time leading Ram rushers. and stuff. And I was thinking about all the backs that ran for 1,000 yards, all the great backs the Rams had, right? And these are great backs, right? If you just from most earliest, from latest to going back in history, Todd Gurley, he's not going to go to the Hall of Fame, but if Todd Gurley had stayed healthy for another 3 years at that production rate, he probably would be, right? We know that. Steven Jackson should be in the Hall of Fame. Todd Gurley, either way, still went over 1,000 yards 3 times. Steven Jackson went over 1,000 yards 8 consecutive seasons for the Rams. Marshall Faulk was the great back before Steven Jackson, and he rushed for over 1,000 yards 3 times with the Rams. Then there was a little gap, and then it was Jerome Bettis. He rushed for over 1,000 yards twice. Eric Dickerson ran 5 times for over 1,000. Wendell Tyler ran twice for over 1,000. Lawrence McCutcheon ran 4 times over 1,000. And Dick Bass ran for 1,000 yards twice with the Rams, and then let alone the 12-game guys. When I talk about the 12-game guys, that's when the league was still playing 12 games a year. They didn't have 1,000-yard rushers, but these names are legendary in Ram history. Names like Tank Younger, Deacon Dan Towler, Joe Horner should be, but he's out there. Even Jaguar John Arnett. So the Rams always had these great running backs. Those last guys here, the Bull Elephant backfield and Arnett, they never ran for 1,000 yards. And then there were guys that have had 1,000-yard season once. Kyrene Williams last year. Cleveland Gary ran for 1,000 yards for the Rams. And we don't think fondly of his career. Charles White ran for over 1,300 yards in 1987. And then Willie Ellison in 1971 ran for over 1,000 yards. I remember being a Ram fan wondering why they gave up on Willie Ellison, because I knew I had heard in 72 that the previous year in 71, Ellison had rushed for over 1,000 yards. And then he had that 247-yard rushing game. And so I couldn't figure Willie Ellison, shouldn't he be the best guy? And of course, Klosterman made a great deal sending Ellison to the Chiefs. And we've talked about that trade. And then McCutcheon became McCutcheon. But there's a name missing here for multiple 1,000-yard seasons that we haven't really talked about. And I feel like the dude deserves his due. He was originally drafted first round by the Bills, I think in 84, somewhere in there. And he was part of the Eric Dickerson deal, and he came to the Rams in the Eric Dickerson trade, and his name was Greg Bell. Greg Bell wore number 42. The last 2 great years of the Rams in SoCal before the move to St. Louis were 1988 and 1989. And Greg Bell, in those seasons, in 88, he ran for 1,212 yards, 1,212 yards, 16 touchdowns rushing, and caught another 2 receiving. That was 18 touchdowns. In 1989, he ran for 1,137 yards and 15 touchdowns. In fact, in a 2-year span, he scored 33 touchdowns for the Rams, right? If you look at Ram history, Marshall Faulk in a 2-year span, I believe it was 2000, 2001. I don't think it was 99, 2000. I think it was 2000, 2001. Marshall Faulk scored 47 touchdowns for the Rams. Todd Gurley in 2017 and 2018 scored 40 touchdowns. Eric Dickerson in 83 and 84 scored 34 touchdowns. And the next guy right behind them is Greg Bell. Now, Faulk, Gurley, Dickerson are all legends in Ram history, but Greg Bell seems to be the forgotten guy there. And I just wanted to get that out there because they were talking about all-time leading rushes for the Rams. And he had multiple 1,000-yard seasons, the same number of 1,000-yard seasons for the Rams that Jerome Bettis had, that Wendell Tyler had. And it's interesting, though, we're so quick to dismiss some of these other guys. Usually it's Dickerson or Faulk, and I understand that. But, you got Steven Jackson and these other guys. And, of course, those of us who grew up in the 70s, McCutcheon and Dick Bass kind of get shortchanged. But the guy that I always felt like, got shortchanged even more was Greg Bell. He gave the Rams 2 great seasons. And funny thing was, he was moved to the Raiders after that, and he didn't do anything much. Okay, guys, questions are building up here. Cincy's T. Higgins, again, around the NFL and other places, Cincy's T. Higgins has signed his contract, so he's in the fold there with the Bengals. 49ers say talks are ongoing with Brandon Ayuk. And I just hope John Lynch gives the dude a big fat bag. Don't give him 29 rocks. Give him 33 or 34 rocks. Make him the highest paid player in the NFL. I'm a wide receiver in the NFL. I'm all for that. Just pour it on, man. Make the dude happy. He's your guy, right? We're not against that. Does Brandon Ayuk scare you? Brandon Ayuk doesn't scare me. If we go to a game and the Rams are playing the 49ers and they tell me Deebo Samuel's out, I'm going, oh, okay, cool. If they tell me Brandon Ayuk is out, I'm going, oh, Deebo's still playing, right? So Lynch, give him the dough, give him the bag. Another spot here, Boston Celtics won the title, we were on Monday or yesterday to talk about it, but they won the title. I still don't buy Jason Tatum as a killer. And what I mean on the court, who's a killer. This is why I've never bought LeBron. And I find LeBron comparisons to even Jordan or even Magic Johnson laughable. LeBron's never been a killer. When everything's good, yeah, but when the money's on the line, you give me Magic Johnson every single time. And so I was just clicking around looking for some stuff to talk about today. And then I heard Colin Coward, who, I've always told you he's the best sports talk guy there is. He's got talent. He does a great job. But every once in a while, he makes a ridiculous statement. And it's hard to believe he would do that just to try to get a rise out of people. I think he does it because he believes it. So Magic Johnson had texted something about, it's a bummer now. We got 17 and the Celtics have 18. I hate that they have one more than us. And then Coward goes and plays this whole, be honest, the Lakers only have 12. And he says, I won't count the Minneapolis Lakers 5 titles, and I don't count George Mikan. And I thought, what a douchebag thing to say. So we don't count Yankee titles prior to Bill Mazeroski, right? Hitting that home run for the Pirates in 1960. So all those other World Series the Yankees won, they don't count because it happened before 1960. I just thought it was weak. I thought it was used to preface a really weak argument because maybe he didn't have anything to talk about. But those Laker titles count, and I'm not even a Laker fan anymore. Those Laker titles count. George Mikan was the first great big man, and you don't just dismiss him like that. Him, Vern Mickelson, all the stuff they did there in Minneapolis. You don't just dismiss that. What? So do we dismiss all of Lombardi's titles before the 2 Super Bowls? Do we just dismiss those? I just thought it was really weak. And again, I'm not a Laker fan anymore. The Lakers drove me away a long time ago. But, the Detroit put Monty Ellis in the street. And now I think JJ Redick is he trying to use the Pistons as leverage or something? The old Mid-Valley sports friend Tim Peterson posted, what do the Lakers do? The Lakers are blowing it, right? The Lakers, they need to give LeBron, let him walk, put AD on the market, and go hire a strong coach. That's all they need to do. Yeah, you're going to have some tough years, but you got to recapture your soul, man. You got to recapture your soul. And so the Lakers are like the NBA's Groundhog Day. They're not going to do anything big. They're going to bring back LeBron. They're going to draft his son. And then into February, beginning of March, they'll be somewhere between the 7 and 10 slot for the play-in, right? And they'll talk about, the gutty team they are. And hey, watch out for them, right? And yeah, it's old news. I'm out. I don't like the basketball they play. The Lakers, just kind of a bummer. And then finally, before we get to the break here, just dropping in a little more college football. The season really takes off on August 31st. It seems really weird, but you got Georgia, Clemson, August 31st. You got Notre Dame and Texas A&M, August 31st. And you got Miami now with Cam Ward at quarterback and Florida on August 31st, right? And then, of course, Penn State, West Virginia, whatever. But you got some great games. And then on Sunday, the day after, September 1st, you got LSU, USC. I'm not as confident about that USC team right now, but we'll see. We'll see how they do post Caleb. And it'll be interesting to see post Kyler Murray, post Baker Mayfield, post Jalen Hurts, post Caleb Williams. Who's the next guy that Lincoln Riley develops at USC? I know it's all about the defense right now and everything that they need to develop, but they lost Caleb Williams, right? And I don't know, is it going to be Miller Moss, right? It's just going to be interesting to see how it turns out at USC and LSU. And it's kind of exciting that we are 2 weeks left in June, 4 weeks we're like less than 3 months away from the kickoff of even the college football season. And that's kind of cool. All right, I'm Joe Terosian, and I do RamView. Thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law. I do RamView, and I do write books, and they support me in my day job. I'm the pastor of a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene. We have We have a channel right here on YouTube called Burbank Faith Virtual. You can check us out there, BurbankFaithVirtual.com, Burbank Faith Virtual across social media. If you have any questions about that, you can fire them to me and I'll be happy to answer you. I was a sports writer for 21 years, one of the founding guys at Mid-Valley Sports. Those guys are still in the room even after I left, and they cover the Chargers. They are credentialed to cover the Chargers, but I get to talk about the Rams and hang out with you guys, and I am pretty blessed. So let's see what we got question-wise. Willie Bowen, I agree with the Ferocious Five. Tim Burns, why are all the talking heads pushing for us to trade for a wide receiver? If anything, we are going to turn away Stoops and are deep enough at the position. The Rams are deep at the position. I couldn't see making a trade this year, but I could see the Rams doing something in next year's draft to maybe move up to a better spot for a receiver because the Rams are deep and they're not deep, right? You know, you got Kupp, you got Nakua, you got Robinson. Kupp is going to be a 32 next year, depending on with all the mileage on him. Nakua, you know, if he stays injury free, great. His kind of game, injuries I think are going to happen. Atwell's a free agent next year. Robinson's a free agent next year. Now Whittington develops, that's great. I don't know. I think sometimes the talking heads are just looking for stuff to talk about. The Rams are going to need a receiver, I think, next year, but that doesn't mean they're going to do something this year. I think they're going to dance with what they have. And just listen for name drops. When Sean McVay drops names, you get a chance to hear who he really likes. And we've heard Jordan Whittington's name dropped quite a bit. So I'm interested. USA Expat, Willie Mays and his famous TV commercial warning kids about blasting caps. No, man, I never saw that. I never seen any of those. Wasn't there a cartoon with Willie Mays where he had a little girl that was like his angel or something and he'd make a catch? I thought I remember something about that. USA Expat, don't touch these, save your arms and legs. Man, sorry. I didn't do it. Let's see here. Tim Burns. Snead takes care of his people. Is Stafford really a holdout guy? I doubt that the Rams are going to take care of him. I doubt that. And Rams are going to take. I think what we're still seeing with Stafford, I think they're just trying. I think this is getting more ginned up than it has to be. The Rams know they're not going anywhere without Stafford. Stafford knows that he's in the best situation he's going to be in. My goodness, he played in Detroit. And he wants a guaranteed money. It doesn't sound like he's asking for more money. He wants guaranteed money. Mr. Burns, you read the second half of my opening part of the show here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the money everyone's making instead of Matthew Stafford. And Matthew Stafford's given no indication that he's going to be holding out. So I'd be really surprised if the Rams, who are you going to turn to? Jimmy G? Who are you going to turn to? Stetson? Who are you going to find, right? And so, I think this is just a matter of just working out the details here. But Stafford just wants more guaranteed money. And I like it. Let him want more guaranteed money because that means he wants to play. And if we get 3 more years, the window is 3 years, I believe. So there we go. Steve Ramirez. I saw Willie Mays play twice, discovered baseball in 1969. Wow, good for you. USA Expat. Say hey, kid. Willie Bowen, Eric Dickerson, Lawrence McCutcheon, Charles White. LA Rams running backs should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know about Charles White, man. But McCutcheon, I like McCutcheon. You know what McCutcheon suffers from? Even though he threw the touchdown pass in Super Bowl 14, he lacks Super Bowl appearances. He lacks that. And he lacks that spectacular highlight stuff. You didn't see OJ runs out of Lawrence McCutcheon, right? You didn't see Otis Armstrong runs out of McCutcheon. He just wasn't that kind of a back. Great back. Maybe he was the Ferrari version of Sammy Winder, right? Remember Sammy Winder was good for 700 yards every year with the Broncos in the 80s. He wasn't great, but he just hit the hole and just did what he needed to do. McCutcheon was better than that. He was a rich man's Sammy Winder. I know that might sound like heresy, but he doesn't have the highlights. He just doesn't have the highlights, and so he gets leveled to obscurity. I think he was a great back. All the Pro Bowls, he did play in a Super Bowl. I don't know a way for him to get in to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But Dickerson, obviously, Steven Jackson is the one I'm honking for that deserves a trip to Canton. Tim Burns, Cleveland Gary just fell off the globe, and he kept dropping the ball, man. I think he had like 10 fumbles that year he ran for 1,000 yards. He had all the skills. I don't know what the deal was with him, but he had all the skills. He could catch the ball, he could run the ball, but he couldn't hold on to the ball. And that was Cleveland Gary. Willie Bone, Greg Bell should be in the Hall of Fame. He should be in the Rams Hall of Fame. Gave them a couple of great years. Tim Burns, I miss Daryl Richardson. He was just on the cusp of mediocrity. Daryl Richardson and Trey Mason, right? You get Trey Mason was Auburn. Daryl Richardson was Abilene Christian, I think. In fact, I had a woman at my church that went to Abilene Christian briefly, and I mentioned his name, and they got all excited. But he kind of faded. He had a nice little rookie thing and then faded. Willie Bowen, LeBron is a choke artist. I don't want to say he's a great player. He's the greatest player of this generation, but that doesn't make him the GOAT of all time. That's what I want to say. And he just doesn't feel like money with the game on the line. He just doesn't. Those other guys, they're killers and stuff. So that's how I feel. USA Expat, LeBron, LA has only one Mr. Clutch. There you go. I'll dance with that. Tim Burns, one cap, two. Oh, one cap, two Wilt, true GOAT talk. Okay. I'm a Magic Johnson guy, but I will say this. It's nice to see a little bit of a revival for Kareem. Nothing was like that sky hook. Nothing. And I know Steve Ramirez, sports writer here, he's a Kareem fan. And we know what Kareem is, right? I always got sick of the stupid comments. Oh, the big fella's smiling again. Did he cause some of his own woe, Jabbar? Yeah, because he was a jackwagon sometimes. But that doesn't mean that he had the greatest shot in NBA history, right? And I love Magic Johnson. I love all the other guys. Chick used to call a 20-footer from Wilkes a layup, all that kind of stuff, right? But there was nothing like the sky hook. To this day, there's nothing like the sky hook. And so, it's good to see him get a little more respect. Willie Bowen, Jerry West is Mr. Clutch and the NBA logo. When West passed away, they talked about everything he did. Coach, GM, player, all that stuff, scout, all that stuff that he did. I don't think he's replaceable as the logo, because he encompasses the whole game. I don't know how you replace him as the logo, but I'm sure there'll be some argument to replace him as the logo. I mean, if you can dismiss all the Lakers titles before 1960, then I guess anything is possible. Let's see. Willie Bowen, Bronny is G League. Hey, I'm a USC basketball fan. I understand the kid was coming back from a heart thing. But the idea that you want to go pro now after that year he had at USC coming off the heart thing just tells me it's my dad's in the NBA. And I just think it's terrible. I mean, I don't want to take it out on the kid, but he's probably low-level G League, right? He might be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. He's probably H League. You never know. Willie May, this is USA Expat. Willie Mays TV commercial was local to San Francisco Bay Area regarding construction sites. Okay. Thomas Wilson, where would you rate Dick Bass in the long history of Rams running backs? Shortchanged, right? The guy did the job for 10 years. And again, I didn't see him play. You look at the highlights, he's kind of short. He kind of fits that Kyron Williams, maybe Blake Corum, or that Greg Bell look. But I never saw him play. I've seen the highlights of him. I loved hearing him as a color commentator in the 80s with Bob Starr, I think, and stuff. But he has to be up there, right? He has to be. Doing what he did, 2 1,000-yard seasons in a 14-game league, playing for the Rams. Again, Rams pick off a Super Bowl appearance in 67 or 69, even though that was his last year and he was kind of on his way out. People are looking different at somebody like Dick Bass. I love the highlights of him, and he seemed to run stronger. They called him Scooter Bass, but I'll take correction. In the highlights, he ran with a little more power than I think I initially thought when I saw the highlights. He'll run inside. I mean, I'll take correction on that. Maybe I'm just a highlight guy. Good question, though, Tom Wilson. Tim Burns, highest salaried quarterback is a 2030 career. is Trevor Lawrence still a good move given future quarterbacks who will run up quarterback salaries next year? Oh gosh, yeah. You know what the Rams are paying Matthew Stafford right now, compared to his talent, it's almost borderline criminal. So I can't imagine them trying to shortchange the dude, right? I think they're just trying to work it out. How can we give him his dough? How can we give him his dough and still keep all of our options open cap wise in the next 3 years, next couple years? That's what I can imagine. Bill, good to hear from you, Bill. When it's all said and done, who will be the Rams starting safeties? Well, Cam Curl better be. He better be. And the thing about all the talk you're hearing about Yeast and Kendrick, I think maybe if you just go off that talk, it's still really early. If you go off that talk, then is it possible then they want to move Lake back to a traditional safety and use one of these other guys in that spot? And that might tell you that Cam Kitchens might be a year away from starting. And the Rams spent a 99 overall on Cam Kitchens, so he's not going anywhere. But Lake is good. Lake has played well wherever he's played. He shined at the star position. Here, the hard part to figure this out, Bill, is that they're not going to play in the preseason. None of these, if they're playing in the preseason, they're not starters. We know that, right? And I have not secured passage to training camp this year down at LMU. I'm still waiting for somebody to throw me a bone here. Says, Joe, come with me. I got you a ticket. Let's go to LMU. Or Stan. If some of you get a hold of Stan only calls me when he wants something. And when I call him, he doesn't get back to me. I need to get credentialed to get down there. So, someone can make that happen. That would be great. So I could tell you, I'll be happy to tell you, but Cam Curl better start. Rams went off the charts there off of something they don't normally do. They went out and invested in a safety for the next couple of years. And so Cam Curl better start. Quentin Lake's going to be on the field. And then it comes down to, are the Rams better with Yeast, Kendrick at the star position, or are they better with what's his name? Kitchens at safety and Lake at the slot star position. So it'll be hard. It'll be interesting to see. Bill, did you watch Chris Long and McVay interview? No, I didn't. I did not watch that interview. By your words, I'll watch it tonight or tomorrow, and I'll be ready to talk about it on Friday. Tim Burns, speaking of Jerry West, again, Vladdy for Kobe, laugh out loud. Hey, great work, right? So I'm watching Magic's first game last night. It's on YouTube, and great game. The hook with Kareem, the hug for Magic. But it was a highlight that you used to see on the Sunday Sports Final for years down here. Man, late in the third quarter, there's a dunk by Jelly Bean Joe Bryant where he just goes. The guy jumps to the moon. And when he's slam dunking down, it looks like. It is just gorgeous. It still is. I remembered it, and you see it. Everyone talks about their favorite dunks of all time. I saw live the Dr. J rock the cradle and dunk over Cooper in '83. It was during the 82-83 season. I saw that dunk, and that one was always one of my favorites. Anything that you see, there's a lot of stuff to see, but the Jelly Bean Joe Bryant one, man, it's completely overshadowed because it's Magic's first game. That Jelly Bean Joe Bryant dunk was phenomenal. If you get a chance to see it, look it up on YouTube. Let's see. And then, of course, that's Kobe's dad, right? Steve Ramirez, trivia. Who is the baseball logo? It's Brooks Robinson. Isn't Brooks Robinson the baseball logo? Is it still the batter there? You correct me, Steve. I think it's Brooks Robinson. All right. Let's see. Bill, are the Rams thin behind Turner, Brown, and our second rounder? Do we need to address this? They drafted Fisk. Okay, you got Fisk, you got Turner, you got Bobby Brown, they got Charles, not Dejanay. They got Deshaun Williams, they got him, that he gave them some snaps last year as Mr. Irrelevant. And then you got the big kid from Clemson, Tyler Davis. So they've added some depth there. Laurel Murchison is back. They've added some depth there. And it's all rotational many times. So I think there's enough there. Of course, I was pushing for Calais Campbell a few weeks ago, and then he signed with the Dolphins. But on the interior, I think the Rams are okay. Where I'm a little more concerned is that I just wish they invested in a linebacker to play alongside to play alongside not Christian Rose, but Ernest Jones, because I think Ernest Jones is highly critical. I think he's highly critical. And if we lose him, it's going to be only undrafted free agents that are going to be getting playing time. So Tim Burns, I vote Rick Monday for MLB logo. He saved the American flag. Still the best play in MLB history. Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I didn't see it live. I wasn't even listening to the radio that day. But what a great move, right? Now they make him a villain for saving an emblem of hate to some people, right? But good for Rick Monday. Steve Ramirez, it is Harmon Killebrew. Okay, I wanted to say Harmon, but I thought, no, it wouldn't be Harmon Killebrew. But it was Harmon. One of the first baseball cards I ever got was Harmon Killebrew. And he looked so old in that baseball card. It was a 75 tops that I thought, man, that guy's really old to be playing baseball. But everyone looked older in those days. Okay, let's keep moving on, guys. You can throw more questions at me. We went kind of long there. Yes, Mr. Burns brought this up. Let's see here. 10th highest paid quarterback per year, not just this year, but per year on average. At number 10, Josh Allen, okay, 43 rocks. I would trade Matthew Stafford for Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen's great, and I think there's a longer run there. And I think if he got with a coach like Sean McVay, it'd be lights out. Number 9, Kirk Cousins for the Falcons, 45 rocks a year. Yeah, Kirk Cousins is okay, but Kirk Cousins is making more money right now per year than Matthew Stafford. Patrick Mahomes is making 45 rocks a year as the number 8 highest paid quarterback in the NFL. We know he makes those adjustments in his contract to accommodate the team. And Mahomes is the 8th highest paid quarterback. 7th highest paid, Deshaun Watson makes 46 rocks. So he actually makes more per year than Patrick Mahomes. Kyler Murray is number 6 at 46.1. Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray, you trading Matthew Stafford for any of those guys? At number 5, just Jalen Hurts makes 51 rocks. Yeah, I'm still not a Jalen Hurts guy. Somewhere in that 22 season, he got hurt. Does not look the same to me. And I think he's a good dude, but I'm not a big guy proponent for Jalen Hurts. Same thing for Lamar Jackson, who's number 4 at 52 rocks a year. I give him credit. The last 2 seasons, he's been healthy and relatively healthy. And so I give him credit, but, we saw him in the playoffs, right? And I don't want to hear about how his team it's always his team lets him down, right? He's got limitations. At number 4, Justin Herbert, 52 rocks a year, 52 and a half, followed by Jared Goff at 53, Joe Burrow, 55, and Trevor Lawrence at 55. There you go. Those are the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. And Mahomes and Josh Allen and maybe Justin Herbert are the only ones that I would move Matthew Stafford for. Dude is underpaid, and hopefully it all gets worked out. I believe it will. He needs to be here for his career and his legacy, and the Rams have built a team to have a quarterback like Matthew Stafford here. So I do believe it will get worked out. All right, let's run through this real quick. Rams opponents, see if anyone's changed their thoughts on them real quick. Week 1, Rams at Detroit. That's going to be very emotional, hopefully not too emotional. That's a big one on Sunday Night Football. Week 2, Rams are in Arizona against the Cardinals. That feels like a trap game to me between the Lions in week 1 and the 49ers in week 3. That one's at SoFi. And I think the 49ers are going to be good. I think they're going to be a playoff team, but I think they're going to take a step back. Bears, everyone's in love with the Bears right now. And by the time they get good, the Rams will have already come and gone from town. Bears are week 4. Packers, week 5 at SoFi. Week 6 is the bye. A little too early for my taste, but the Rams make up for it a little bit on the other end with some Thursday games. So they get those mini buys. Week 7, Raiders are in SoFi. Week 8, it's Thursday Night Football. Vikings are at SoFi. Let's see here. Week 9, you got the Seahawks up in Seattle. Week 10, Monday Night Football against the Dolphins in SoFi. A lot of these tough games are in SoFi. This is really good. Week 11, November 17th, Rams Patriots in New England. That's not too bad in terms of a cold weather game. And Rams, they're scheduling difficult schedule, but a lot of those games are in SoCal or in SoFi. Week 12, the Eagles, Sunday Night Football. Week 13 in New Orleans. Week 14 at home against the Bills. And then short week 15, up in up at Levi Stadium to place the 49ers on a Thursday night game. Week 16, legitimate cold weather game, December 22nd at the Jets, 10 a.m. Not bad, though. Better than during the day than at night. Week 17, Cardinals at home. Week 18, Seahawks at home. You could be very optimistic about this schedule. I see, again, we've talked about it, and I'd love to hear if you guys have any different opinions. Mr. Burns kind of agrees. We agree with each other. Low end, I see the Rams 11-6. High end, I see them 13-4. All right. I think we got that in there. Yes, we did. So
it was a stone groove, my man.
It was a stone groove, and we're not even done yet. On June 19th, on this day, the Rams sent Greg Bell. June 19th, 1990, the Rams sent Greg Bell to the Raiders for a 4th-round pick. Nothing amounted to anything for either team in that deal. Born on this day in 1938 was Charlie Cowan, a Ram offensive tackle, offensive lineman who played left guard, went to the Pro Bowl as a right tackle, went to the Pro Bowl as a left tackle, drafted by the Rams in 61. Only missed 4 games in his career. So he played in 206 games, started 186, played left guard, right tackle, left tackle, and just an amazing player that, maybe he's not Hall of Fame, but if there's a ring of honor, the Rams should do something. They should put a statue out there. You want to really build goodwill? Make these little mini statues out there, these little smaller ones. It doesn't have to be high, just a walk of fame for Ram fans, and put Cowan out there with Shabelli and Mack and Saul or something. Do it. It would be a great move. Stan, I'm going to tell Stan to get that done. But Cowan was great. Cowan was a left guard. Shabelli was the right guard, right? They played alongside each other all there. They retired a week apart. And then when the Rams, he was playing right tackle, went to the Pro Bowl. Then the Rams made the move, brought in Bob Brown, future Hall of Famer, in 68 and 69, 68, 69 or 69, 70. Whatever. They brought him in. They moved Cowan to left tackle, and Brown went to his spot at right tackle. Cowan still went to the Pro Bowl. Charlie Cowan, number 73, really underrated, really a sad ending for him. Kidney issues, diabetes. He passed away very young. When the players talk about all this, getting theirs, Charlie Cowan was dead broke, was falling apart. They had to do fundraisers for him. Former teammates did fundraisers for him. And if there's any really, when you want to talk about a dark spot on the NFL, talk about how they didn't take a player. They continue not to take care of those players that were from the earlier eras. Celebrating his 29th birthday today, Joseph Noteboom, 3rd-round pick, 89th overall, 2018 at TCU. Joseph Noteboom turns 29 today. Believe it or not, he has gone from a prospect rookie to, now he's 29. He's middle-aged in the NFL. He's heading into his 7th season. And did you know that only Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee, and Rob Havenstein have been with the Rams longer than Joe Noteboom? Yeah, that's right. Joe Noteboom he's the 4th longest tenured Ram. I thought that was pretty interesting. We're not on the air tomorrow. It's June 20th, and the Rams in 1969 acquired quarterback Carl Sweeten from the Saints for a 4th-round pick in 1971. Now, Sweeten's really interesting. He had a couple years getting some starts with the Lions when, Munson was there and Greg Landry was getting his feet under him and everything. But he eventually ended up with the Rams. He was still there after Allen left, and apparently Tommy Prothro kind of convinced him that he was going to make the team. And then the Rams let him go, and he moved on. And he played a little bit in Canada, quit, retired. And then he got busted by the FBI for trying to sell his old Rams playbook. What he had done is he had Xeroxed the whole playbook and tried to sell it for something like $500 or $5,000, and he got popped by the FBI. And he was in some serious trouble for a while, but things didn't work out. They dropped the charges. He ended up moving to Vegas to deal a blackjack, I think. And so I thought it was kind of funny that it was on June 20th, 1969, the Rams acquired Carl Sweeten. He sent his brother-in-law or cousin as a front guy saying he could sell this to the Saints because they were going to play the Rams the first week of the 72 season. And his wife was participating in it. It was like this real sting effort. So I thought that was kind of funny. On June 20th, in the year 2000, I did this because I saw the day this guy was drafted. Rams signed free agent center Steve Everett, right? He played at Michigan. It was a first-round pick, 14th overall by the Browns. He was a starter for 7 seasons with the Browns, Ravens, and Eagles. And when the Rams signed him in 2000, I thought, oh, Steve Everett, I remember that guy. But it was really the last year of his career. He only appeared in 4 games with the Rams, and he only started 1. But Everett, while he had a very mediocre career, injuries, everything weigh you down. The internet Everett was, when the Browns moved to Baltimore, Everett wore a Browns bandana under his purple helmet. And he did it as a sign of protest to the relocation of the team. And I remember it was kind of funny because, he was still supporting those Brown fans and how contentious and hurtful it was when they moved. But I thought that was pretty cool for a player to acknowledge that. He got fined a few $1,000 for it, but I don't know. To me, that kind of tells you a little bit about Steve Everett. And it was just one of those weird things. You see a guy drafted, and then you see him at the end of the line. It's like, man, did time pass that quickly, right? The time passed that. We were all there when Aaron Donald was drafted, and now we've seen that. Okay, June 20th, 2014. I bring this up just as a reminder of Rams and what they do in terms of the type of player they bring in. Rams linebacker Jolon Dunbar, June 20th, 2014, was arrested on battery and disorderly conduct. Charges were dropped eventually. But he played 3 years for the Rams in 2012 through 2014. He had a really good 2012, and then he kind of faded his last 2 years. And the thing about that, I bring that up again, is Darian Kendrick's thing that happened in, 2023, where driving at night, where nothing good happens after midnight, got caught with the gun with the cops, and it went away. It wasn't anything too serious, but, it's pretty interesting when, again, we used to make all the joke about the Bengal players, right? But you think about the kind of players that Snead and the Rams go after. You don't hear too much domestic violence. You don't hear too much drugs. You don't hear too much wrong place, wrong time. They don't have the Xavier Worthy thing where they're making it rain. And that's why I bring up the Jolon Dunbar thing. One guy kind of liked him that first year. But again, it's just a reminder of the Rams. It sounds very fanboy to say, but the Rams do things right. And tomorrow is what would that be? Goodness gracious, that would be the 75th birthday. Tomorrow, Dave Elmendorf. Dave Elmendorf, former Rams strong safety. Last game played was Super Bowl 14. Played with the Rams for 9 years. He was a draft pick acquired in the Ramskins trade with all Dyron Talbert and everything that netted the Rams a first-round pick that turned into Isaiah Robertson and a 3rd or 4th round pick that turned into Dave Elmendorf. He's had a good post-career there in Texas, but he was a staple out there. Never made a Pro Bowl, but he kind of picked up the mantle from, goes from Eddie Meter to Dave Elmendorf to Nolan Cromwell, right? And solid secondary guy. He returned punts a little bit too for the Rams. He turns 75 tomorrow. So happy birthday to Dave Elmendorf. All right, let's see what else we got here. I do appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Let's see. Bill, first baseball card was Dick Allen, and I traded him for Steve Carlton. Wow. Yeah, it wasn't until I got older, I couldn't understand the stuff people used to say about Dick Allen, Richie Allen, Dick Allen, because all I saw was a great ball player. But then you heard about how he was very, very difficult to be around. And then it was interesting. You think about a guy like Dick Allen, a guy like Frank Robinson. They all had a season with the Dodgers, right? It's like Frank Robinson played with the Dodgers. Dick Allen played with the Dodgers. It was just a weird thing when you think about that. But yeah, Richie Allen. I wasn't a Carlton fan, maybe, and I wasn't even in media in those days. But I thought Carlton was kind of weak. He didn't talk to the media, But then when his career was winding down, he was bouncing around with the Indians and everything. Then he started talking, and I thought, that's a little douchey to me, dude. Just go on. Great pitcher, though, Steve Carlton. Tim Burns, Mahomes took a page from Brady and traded extra rocks for rings. Bingo. Can't diss the result. Rocks for rings. Good call there, Mr. Burns. I'm going to steal that one. Rocks for rings. Absolutely. That's absolutely on point. Thomas Wilson. Killebrew was known for both the frequency and distance of his homers, 500-foot homers. Yeah, he was a bomber. It makes you wonder in some of the bandboxes the league plays in today what a guy like Killebrew would have done, right? I think he's got a great name. I'm not a fan of the name Harmon, but the name Killebrew, right? I'm going to write a book and name the character Killebrew. That's just because it's a great name, right? That's a great name. Willie Bowen, what's your opinion on Dieter Brock, right? Well, he's the only guy that could have overthrown Gaddafi, right? That was what they said about him in the mid-'80s. Do you remember in the mid-'80s, the LA Examiner, the Herald Examiner, best newspaper to ever read for sports, they did a poll on who's the worst quarterback in Los Angeles, Mark Wilson or Dieter Brock, right? I laughed at Raider troubles, but the Rams had troubles enough of their own. And again, you look at his stats. He threw for over 3,000 yards, right? I think it was 16 touchdowns, 13 picks. In that day and age, all those stats don't look too bad. But if you saw him play, it was brutal. It was just brutal watching Dieter Brock play. And that's why when you look at stats, like you look at the stats, Colin Kaepernick's last year, right? They're not bad, except when you saw him play. And, stats can get padded in so many ways. Even to this day, when I'm with my friends, I hear like, oh, Stafford went long for a touchdown. I said, oh, he went long? Because, it was more like a Dieter Brock to Ron Brown or Henry Ellard, which was like a 5-yard slant that the receiver took 80 yards, right? Instead of him going over the top to somebody. But not a big Dieter Brock fan. I know we were hopeful. His guy's on one knee and he's throwing it 55 yards on one knee through a goalpost. And we thought, man, this is the guy. And it was like, this guy ain't my kind of guy. Yeah, we moved off on him pretty fast. Tim Burns, my first baseball card, Ray Fosse, catcher, Oakland. Great in the booth too. Never heard him in the booth, but Ray Fosse, good for you, man. I always thought he was a better player. He was a good player. Was it really the Rose hit that ruined his career? Same thing with Gene Tennis. Everyone looked great on those 3 championship teams for the A's in the 70s. And then you come to realize none of those guys were really super Hall of Famers. Sal Bando was good. Joe Rudy was good. Campaneris was good. Bill North could track it down. But at first base, they're running Gene Tennis out there sometimes. They made the move for Billy Williams. But it was really, Reggie Jackson out there, right? Reggie Jackson. And then of course, there was Vida Blue and everything, Catfish Hunter. So anyway, let's see what we got here. Boog Powell was another guy that spent the last month of his career with the Dodgers in 77. In fact, I was at a game where Boog Powell got a base hit late in the 9th, came up as a pinch hitter, and they pulled him for John Hale as a runner. And I think that was 77. If not 77, it was 78. I think it was 77. But, Boog Powell was in those great commercials, those light beer commercials where they talked about how bad the umpires were, and the umpire puts on his glasses and says, hey, you're Boog Powell. Yeah, there you go. Let's see here. Willie Bowen, hola Manuel, Willie Bowen. What's up, Willie? I'm glad you guys connect here. I'm happy to make you guys happy. Dieter Brock was killed by the Bears. That was a brutal game, right? But you know what? I'm not a Debbie Downer. I didn't have much hope going into that game. I just didn't, right? I just did it because the Bears were just overwhelming, and you needed a Dan Marino if you were going to beat the Bears that year. That was, and Marino proved it, right? The ability to get rid of the ball fast, the receivers to do it because they were vulnerable in the secondary, but you weren't gonna beat him with just the run trick pony of just giving the ball to Eric Dickerson. Nah, he just wasn't that guy. Let's see. Steve Ramirez. Juan Marichal spent a month with the Dodgers before retiring. Yeah, was that 75, Steve? Was that 75? I remember listening to Scully talk about him on the radio. Was that 75 that he was with the Dodgers? Dave Kingman, the strikeout and home run king. Can I ask any of you guys what you thought of Kingman's performance against the Dodgers? Does anyone know about Dave Kingman's performance? Yeah. Kingman put together some nice years there in Chicago and in Oakland, right at the beginning of the Bash Brothers era. I think just before McGuire got there, he with Canseco. I think it was with Canseco in 86, 87. He was still playing and he was producing out there. But that was another guy that was, from what I understood, was a real douchebag in terms of, you want to be around Dave Kingman? Yeah. So, all right, guys, I think we're looking good. We're coming up to the 50-minute mark. We got a 50-minute show in. All right. With no new news, we got 50 minutes in. Thanks, Steve, for confirming it was 1975. Guys, be sure to hit like. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to hit share if you can. I do so appreciate you guys clicking on. I'm going to be on Friday. No worries about being on Friday. Next week, I'm at we call our CIT Academy. And that is our Counselors and Training Academy up at Granite Ridge. I'm on the board of directors there. I'm also the executive director of the Outsiders program. I am going to try to broadcast. I will not be in the Ram Cave, but I can't guarantee my timing will be, on spot on. I might jump on for a few minutes, say hey, share a couple things, and then get off the air. But I just ask for your patience in that regard. Okay. All right. Let's see. Willie Bowen. I'm a California LA Angels fan. I was until I nearly got into a fight at Anaheim Stadium. Yeah, I nearly went to blows with somebody in Anaheim Stadium. I'm ashamed to say. Yes, it's true. I nearly got into fisticuffs because a vendor was being really rude to me. And but I didn't. I didn't come to blows. So Steve Ramirez, poor Willie. Okay, guys. God bless, guys. Take care. We'll see you on Friday. Throw some questions out. Love to talk. God bless.